My name is Barney Rosenberg. I'm the Vice President of Ethics and Business Conduct for the Meggitt Group.
Barney Rosenberg came and he talked to us a lot about business ethics, and we did a lot of kind of hypothetical situations about a company, about whether certain situations were ethical or unethical, why they were ethical or unethical, and he really played devil's advocate on a lot of different things and really made us think about a lot of different situations.
It gives them advance notice of what they might actually see in the future, and on top of that, it gives them a base to build off of on what is ethical and what isn't. It's kind of like you went over at the end. Even if we didn't know why something wasn't good, our gut feeling that it wasn't good was a good marker that we shouldn't be doing it. So it gives you an idea of what to look for.
Hi guys. As I said to some folks earlier, you don't have to take notes, so forget about that stuff. Let me share with you a story that I heard on a recent trip to Brazil. It seems that there's a mouse that lives behind the wall in a very nice home. And he's getting a little stir crazy because he's been behind the wall for a long time, but he's afraid to come out because there's a cat. Well, all of a sudden the mouse hears barking, and he figures, this is my opportunity. The dog has come, scared the cat away. I'm out of here. And he runs out through a hole in the wall, whereupon the cat grabs him and is about to eat him. And the mouse says, time out. You win. I surrender. Do whatever you want with me, but you got to answer a question. I heard this dog barking. Where's the dog? And the cat smiles and says, there is no dog. That was me. And let me tell you something, my little friend. In today's world, unless you learn a second language, you're dead. So we're going to talk about the second language of business ethics and see if we can learn the vocabulary that goes with that. Now, looking around the room, I'm guessing there's somebody in the room who played soccer at some point. Yes? Raise your hand if you played soccer. Am I fortunate enough to have anybody in the room who was a soccer referee? Okay. You're going to be my center ref. Yellow card, red card. I was a soccer referee for 13 years. If you hear anything that offends Law 5 of the laws of soccer or your ethics sense of propriety, you decide, yellow card or red card. Just pull it up and hold it up in the air. All right? Good. So let's get started. This is the emergency meeting of the Board of Directors, and I want to welcome you to Global Operating Tools and Technology, Inc., affectionately known to customers, regulators, competitors worldwide, and to longtime company employees as Gotti. You've all been promoted. Eventually you will be on boards of directors, but this is your first experience. Some of you will be asked to serve as directors. Some of you will have some other roles to fulfill today. So what happens? Well, since this is your first and maybe last meeting at Gotti, I'm going to ask you to suspend disbelief, and we're going to play a game. I have a deck of cards. Special deck. We're going to draw cards. I'm just going to ask you to pick a card, read it out loud, because things are going to happen to our company, and we're going to decide what to do about those things. Okay? At the end, I'm going to ask you to make some very key decisions about our future that could help transform the company and shape the direction it goes. So let me begin by telling you a little bit about your company. Global Operating Tools and Technology, Inc. is a multinational manufacturer of industrial robotics. We have 35,000 employees in 20 countries around the world. Revenue last year was 14.7 billion euros. That's kind of getting close to the $20 billion range. We're listed on the New York Stock Exchange. We're a Delaware corporation. We have major subsidiaries in England, Singapore, and South Africa. We have some lofty objectives. We want to grow dramatically and position the company as the darling of the financial analysts so that we can woo investors and customers, and everybody will get rich. Prosperity is the name of this game. So what are our actual goals? Well, we want to increase revenues by 50% while we navigate the legal and ethical challenges of the business world. We want to move to the Fortune 100 list of largest global companies, as well as being one of the 100 best companies to work for. Long-range strategic plan is to expand into the BRIC companies, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and to be the market leader for industrial robotics. Now, you know what industrial robotics are? The logo for our company is a pink Cadillac. And that's important because the automobile industry was one of the first places to use robots to manufacture. But I selected that as the company logo for other reasons as well. When I was a kid, I grew up in New York City. I lived in the Bronx. And we kids used to see Sugar Ray Robinson drive through the neighborhood in a pink Cadillac. I thought, wouldn't that be cool? And the other real reason is big Aretha Franklin fan. How many know her song, Pink Cadillac? I'm going riding on the freeway of love in my pink Cadillac. Okay. So that's why the logo is what it is. So industrial robotics, that's what it's about. Making things using other machines. We have some challenges as a company. Our plans for expansion have stalled in the wake of the world economic crisis. Manufacturing sectors have been particularly hard hit. We need to restructure. The management ranks include some very strong personalities, and I'd like to introduce you to them now. Our chairman and CEO, Bill Trite. Bill started at Gotti right out of engineering school. He rose quickly in the ranks on the strength of his analytic and design skills. He's respected by our employees because of his technical brilliance, his leadership qualities, very charismatic and personable, motivational kind of leader. Bill is getting close to retirement, and he needs a succession plan for the next CEO and chairman. He'd like to be the ambassador to England and teach a course called Business Growth Through Ethics at the London School of Economics. The two principal candidates for his position are first Monica Baggs, the Chief Financial Officer. Her nickname is Money. She's a summa cum laude graduate of Harvard University with a degree in economics and holds a PhD in management from INSEAD. Moneybags is well connected in the London investment bankers community, and she sees her path to the top through solid financial controls. She is often the smartest person in the room. She'd like to be the next chairman and CEO. She was the architect of the financial strategy that brought money into the company and saved Gotti during the last economic downturn. Her chief rival for this position, turn him loose, our Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing. He has a bachelor's degree in business from the University of Michigan. He has business connections in most of the major markets. He excels at taking deals to the next level. If there's a deal to be done, he'll do it. He's a true salesman. He grew up in the robotics business, and he knows how to do business. He established a solid base of international clients, opened the company's subsidiary in South Africa. He has a knack for surrounding himself with talented people and has always done well for the company. Okay? So, time for you guys to work. I have a deck of cards. For those people who have to leave early, they get to go first. I'd like you to take a card, read it out loud.
Behaviors. All manufacturing facilities have scrap. Most companies sell the scrap, which is recycled and disposed of in an environmentally friendly way. Your night manager is taking the scrap and selling it on his own, with the checks going to his little company on the side. The buyer calls you to say he is uncomfortable with the situation, which has been going on for 2 years. What are your first steps? Then what?
What's he doing that's wrong?
Theft.
Theft.
Theft, you're stealing products, because I mean, even though it's scrap, you're still belonging to the company.
It's also wrong because usually they would be disposed of in an environmentally friendly way, and I'm guessing if he's selling them on the side, it's probably not to be environmentally dealt with.
So let's put that issue to the side. Let's assume that he's selling it to somebody who is going to dispose of it properly. So it's not an environmental issue. Still worried about this guy?
Yeah.
It's garbage. He's selling scrap. We made our products, or the company made its products, and what's left over, that's what he's getting rid of.
But if I'm running my business, if I wanted to sell the scrap, I would have sold it in the first place instead of getting rid of it.
Okay, so it's a corporate opportunity. The company money should have been. There is obviously a market for this stuff, and shouldn't the money go to the company rather than to this guy's own pocket? Okay, so that's a pretty easy case, right?
Behaviors. With the downturn in the economy has come a sharp drop-off in the number of calls to the company's ethics call line. Some people are concerned that this is the result of fear by employees that they will lose their job if they complain. What do you think? The company has a strong non-retaliation policy.
Okay, so we have at Gotti a telephone number that we give out to employees, and we say, if you're worried about something, something's bothering you, doesn't seem right, like the night manager selling garbage, scrap, call this number. People have stopped calling. What do you think? What can we do about that? Is that a problem, first of all, that people aren't calling? They're not getting feedback. Okay? Why else might they not be calling?
The company is operating the line. They should probably take it to some sort of exterior firm.
So you guys are all the employees of our company. You don't trust us? Is that what you're saying? You don't trust? We pay you every week. We give you a check. We deposit it into your bank, and you don't trust us?
Like that's the very reason, like that you wouldn't want to confront anyone. You don't want to be the whistleblower in that situation.
Yeah. What happens to whistleblowers in companies? Sometimes there's retaliation. In our company, my company, Megit, we have a strong policy that says if you raise an issue in good faith, no retaliation. Managers can be fired for retaliating against somebody who says, I have a question, I don't understand how this works, or I think the night manager is selling scrap for his own account. Another thing that we do in our company is that, as you suggested, the ethics line that we operate, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anywhere in the world that we have businesses. And we're in 17 countries, so there's a translation issue, but that's outsourced. There's a third party, a company in England that has nothing to do with us other than they manage this ethics line for us. And if somebody wants to be anonymous, they can call anonymously. If they want to give their names, that's great too. Okay. So just the fact that calls have dropped off to the ethics line, we don't really know what that means, but it's a caution. It's a signal that there might be something more going on.
Corporate HR, an activist group opposed to the World Economic Order, has targeted Gotti for action. It has purchased 5 shares of stock in Gotti and plans to offer a shareholder initiative calling for the divestiture of Gotti's European businesses, with the proceeds going to find a cure for cancer. They have asked for time on the agenda to present their proposal and make their case to the other shareholders. If you do not give them a platform at the meeting, they will picket and call media attention to Gotti's lack of a social responsibility program. You are the company's secretary, and responsible for planning the annual meeting. What will you do?
Now that's kind of complicated, but let's make it simple. Every corporation has an annual meeting. Shareholders get to come together, they get to have a piece of cake and some coffee, and in theory, elect the board of directors. So that happens every year. What's happened this year at Gotti is somebody bought 5 shares of stock. What does that get them? Well, it gets them a seat at the table at the annual meeting. And they're not happy, these shareholders. They want to come and they want to make a statement. They say, sell your European businesses, and we'll take the money and we'll find a cure for cancer. So what do we let them speak at the annual meeting? In an earlier life, I was the general counsel of a company you may have heard of, Mattel, toy company. And I was also the company secretary. And at one of our annual meetings, before the meeting, I was approached by 2 nuns who had 5 shares of stock that they had bought in the company. It's real life stuff. And they wanted to speak at the meeting. So we met. They told me that they just wanted to make a statement, weren't asking the company to do anything. They just wanted to have a voice and take a position on some social issue. I don't even remember what it was. And I said, sure. So at the annual meeting, I introduced Sister so-and-so. She got up, made her statement, sat down, and we moved on to the next point on the agenda. Corporate democracy is a strange thing, but so is democracy, right?
Your South African subsidiary is about to lay off 400 workers, just as word leaks out that the senior management team will be receiving substantial bonuses and stock options. Last year was a good one for Gotti, but the first 6 months have been rough, and the next year and a half are not looking bright. Your decision? Lay off the workers or cancel the bonuses?
Okay, in favor of shutting down the factory, raise your hands. Okay, the rest of you aren't so sure. So why not? Why not immediately shut it down? All right, look, we're all friends here, right? And what happens in Jackson Student Center stays in the Jackson Student Center. Do you really care about a couple of Chinese kids? There are 1.4 billion Chinese. Come on. What's that? There's so many of them. All right, so what if I told you that the chemicals that we're dumping into the water are carbon dioxide? What happens when you add carbon dioxide to water? What do you get? Seltzer, right? Fizzy water. Wouldn't you want to know what the chemicals are that we're dumping into the stream? So maybe that's like the first step is, okay, there are chemicals leaving our factory. What are the chemicals? And as somebody said, maybe use a different chemical. Okay, before we go to the corporate death sentence of shutting down the factory, maybe we do a little homework, a little bit of research. Yeah. Good luck in international travels.
Behaviors. An anonymous caller tells the ethics call line that the VP of operations at the Ohio plant is preparing to send substantial sole source business to his daughter's company. The daughter stands to earn a hefty bonus. Gotti will likely pay a premium. Now what?
So I'm going to assume that this guy's daughter works for a company that has competition, right? There are other companies that would like a piece of Gotti's business, right? So if we just send it to his daughter, they're not going to be very happy, right? What might they do if they're not unhappy? If they're unhappy, go to the media, complain. You know, Geraldo Rivera all of a sudden shows up on their doorstep. Gotti is likely to pay a premium. That's one of the points that was made, right? If it's sole source business and there's no competition. So those are some of the issues when people sort of forget that there needs to be a process We talked about process before. There needs to be a process for how you get the products, the things that you need, the widgets that you need to make something.
Would that be considered nepotism?
Yeah, I think so. Do I get a green card for saying, yeah, that's nepotism? You don't have a green card.
Legal and regulatory. 20 armed FBI agents show up at the plant in San Diego, flashing a search warrant and threatening to shut down the assembly line where Gotti makes robotics for the new presidential helicopter. You are the night shift manager and the most senior person when they show up at 10 p.m. Now what?
Years ago when I worked at Northrop Grumman, I was in charge of investigations and litigation. 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm driving to the office, and I had a cell phone. In the early days of cell phones, they were big. And I was one of the few people in the company that had one. Phone rings and voice at the other end says, Barney, could you kind of swing down to the aircraft division before you go to the office? And I said, sure, what's up? There are 20 armed FBI agents with a search warrant, and there are also 2 TV camera trucks with satellite feeds. So I was there from about 6:30 in the morning till 11 o'clock that night. One of the first things that happened was I found 2 agents in an office with one of our employees beginning an interview of that employee. And I barged in and I said to the employee, you go back to work. You FBI agents, if you have a problem with that, call the United States Attorney in downtown Los Angeles. I just got off the phone with him. He's waiting to hear from you. But let me tell you how fast my heart was beating when I did that. Because these guys have guns, and they have a lot of authority.
And they're also not there to help you necessarily.
No, they're really
they're
not.
not going to tell you, if you want to call your attorney, you can before we come in. They're not going to tell you that.
Yeah. The fun thing is when they show up at an employee's house after hours. And I don't know if you've ever met FBI agents. They're at a central casting. They are invariably the best looking people on the planet. And the men are all about 6'3". The women are fabulous. And they'll walk into that employee's house, sit down on the sofa and say, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They flashed their badges. They said, this is a lovely house. Mr. Smith, you have a beautiful family. It sure would be a shame to lose it all. Now, would you like to talk to us about the presidential helicopter? Yeah, you can't get in their way. You cannot impede their execution of the search warrant, but you darn well better get on the phone and call the lawyers, company lawyers, fast. So what we did was we had contact numbers. So everybody in their purse or their wallet had a list of phone numbers to reach people after hours to get some help.
With a downturn in the economy has come a sharp drop-off in the number of calls to the company's ethics call line. Some people are concerned that this is the result of fear by employees that they will lose their job if they complain. What do you think? The company has a strong non-retaliation policy.
Did you get that over here? Member of the board of directors, one of you, gets an envelope from an unhappy customer complaining that